The community center is a massively important issue for the community for a couple reasons. One is it's a chance to give us a place to come together at a time when we're desperate to have those places and desperate to have those opportunities. The other is that this is really the last best chance to have a community center if we're going to have a community center. I would really like our voters to take the time to understand the issue first. Understand that we do have the opportunity to build this and do it in a fiscally responsible way. I want them to understand the amount of research that their neighbors and friends in the community did, because we had a community center feasibility task force that was made up of 16 members from around the community with a wide variety of expertise that most communities would die for to have help guide their process. That they would look at this and say, oh, that's your community group, that should be your consulting team, to come and put this together for us and really understand the level of research that went into this and the amount that we listened to the community. So those are the things that I think are important for them to understand as we go into this and as they enter the ballot booth.
When the 2018 Parks and Recreation Comprehensive Plan brought renewed focus to the issue, Council knew it was time to take another look. The Community Center Feasibility Task Force was formed in the summer of 2019. Comprised of 16 residents, the task force was guided by a professional consultant team that has successfully researched, planned, and helped implement community centers nationwide. An extensive 18-month study process ensued, with a focus on community engagement, transparency, and financial analysis. The task force went above and beyond in its efforts to raise awareness about the study and obtain input from the community. Combined, the focus groups, surveys, and pop-ups at sports events and key community gathering spaces gathered more than 3,200 points of input beyond public participation at 20-plus task force meetings. Once it became clear that the community needs and wants a community center, the task force focus shifted to the details. Feedback from an early survey and other engagement activities highlighted what a community center means for residents. They want a place to gather. They want a mix of fitness, health, and wellness offerings combined with arts and learning opportunities. They want a central location that is easy to access. They don't want to lose park space. And they want it structured in a way that won't increase taxes, is affordable to use, and modeled on a stable business plan. Once the task force heard from residents about what they wanted in a community center and the kinds of things they wanted in a site for the community center, they evaluated sites around Upper Arlington and quickly centered in on the former Macy's location at Kingsdale Shopping Center. If approved by voters on May 4, the community center will be part of a larger redevelopment project at the Macy's Kingsdale site. The redevelopment will also include an apartment building with a parking garage and a senior living complex. For the community center itself, the conceptual plans developed by the task force show a community center that will take up 5 floors of a 7-story building with about 60 ground-level parking spaces. In addition to the facility's entrance and lobby, the first floor will house an indoor pool with adjacent locker rooms and a party room. On the second level, we envision fitness classrooms and workout facilities with weights and cardio equipment. Moving further up the building, the conceptual plan shows a third level that houses 3 gymnasiums, 2 with wood floors for activities like basketball and volleyball, and a third gym that will have a synthetic floor suitable for a larger variety of sports activities. This level also includes space for team programming, giving them a space to gather and engage outside of the school environment. Level 4 features a walking and running track that takes advantage of the height needed for the 3 gyms. Level 5 is slated as space for the senior center with a dedicated senior lounge and facilities, and access to additional classrooms that can be used by both seniors and other members of the community. In the conceptual plan, this level also features a large event space that can seat up approximately 250 people, a combined demonstration and catering kitchen, and a large outdoor patio that enhances the event space and can accommodate outdoor fitness classes. Finally, the building is topped off by 2 floors of leasable office space, and we are already making headway on identifying prospective tenants. Once the site was picked and the elements of the building were laid out, the task force turned to the budget and the operating plan. A working construction estimate of $54 million was developed and includes 23% for contingencies and inflation as a safeguard. That way we can be confident that the final cost will fall at or below this estimate. So how will we finance this? The bulk of the cost of construction would be covered by selling bonds, a standard practice at the city for accomplishing significant public improvements. In addition to this long-term debt, the city is partnering with the UA Community Foundation to cover 10% of the cost through private donations. And thanks to the city's exceptional financial policies and budgeting practices, we have available approximately $9 million in reserves over and above the extensive funds that we have set aside in the city's rainy day fund. Repayment of the long-term debt will total approximately $2.3 million per year. A significant portion of the funds needed to repay this debt will be generated by property tax growth from the private development on the balance of the site. A relatively new source of income to the city's hotel-motel tax generated by the 2 hotels on Lane Avenue can cover approximately $500,000 per year. The space on top of the community center will generate new income tax revenues and leasing profits, and we anticipate using some combination of those to cover the balance of our debt service. We have a plan to build the building, so now let's talk about the plan to operate the building. One of the consultants assisting the task force was Pros Consulting, a firm that specializes in building out community center operations plans for facilities across the country. They study business models and pricing structures and participation levels for similar facilities in the region, and they studied our Parks and Recreation Department's existing program statistics. The resulting operations plan sets realistic and achievable goals for membership and participation levels, while keeping pricing competitive and affordable. Another key factor that's important to understand is the fact that the existing programming offered by the Parks and Recreation Department is supported by a subsidy of approximately $530,000 per year under our current operations. So today, we're already subsidizing our Parks and Recreation programs and our recreation programs in particular by about $530,000 a year. I'll come back to that in a moment and explain why that fact's very important to our model. Pros Consulting took the proposed community center programming and built out a detailed 6-year business and operations plan based on projected participation levels and pricing. This base case pro-forma not only has us covering the costs of running the building, it actually reduces and even eliminates that existing $530,000 subsidy that we have today. While everyone was very pleased with these numbers, we did feel that it was necessary, and the task force felt it was necessary, to look and see what would happen if those assumptions aren't met. So the consultant developed a stress test scenario that projects various reductions in memberships, daily admissions, and rentals, and so on and so forth. Even under that stress test scenario, the city's operating budget would only need an additional $250,000 a year to operate the community center. So the scenarios run from actually reducing our expenses by $530,000 a year to potentially only increasing our expenses by $250,000 a year. On the May 4th ballot, our residents will be asked the following question: should the City of Upper Arlington build a new community center on the site of the old Lazarus Macy's store at Kingsdale Shopping Center, using various city revenue streams, but in no case from an increase in city income or property taxes, as authorized by legislation of City Council, including Ordinance number 1-2021, Ordinance number 2-2021, and Ordinance number 3-2021. The options for our residents will be yes, the city should build the community center, or no, the city should not build the community center. Let me break down what the choices mean in as simple a terms as I can. A yes vote means a community center will be built at Kingsdale, and it will be constructed using existing revenue streams and revenue generated by the Kingsdale Mixed-Use Project. UA schools will continue to receive the $123,000 a year in property taxes that they currently receive from the site. The schools will also receive an additional $50,000 per year and the full value of any new approved millage in any future school levies. Additionally, once the community center is complete, the schools will receive the land on which the current senior center sits. A no vote means the Macy's site will be fully redeveloped by Continental Real Estate. The site set aside for a community center would likely become a 9-story building with 7 stories of multifamily residential and 2 stories of office. The UA schools would receive approximately $30 to $40 in additional property tax revenue per year for the average home in Upper Arlington.
I've been really pleased by the extent to which our residents are taking the time to become educated about this issue. They're not just relying on what they see on Facebook or what they hear in an offhanded comment from somebody, but they're really taking the time to get into the issue. Because really the most important thing is that they educate themselves and that they vote. This is why council's putting this on the ballot, because we don't think that as an administration, and council doesn't think as an elected body, that we've got all the answers. And so getting that ultimate level of input from the community is incredibly important. That's why we're encouraging folks to educate and either get an absentee ballot and vote at your convenience but before May 4th, or go to your polling place on May 4th and cast your ballot the traditional way. But that's the most important thing.